hard to.
Good morning, everyone. It's Nicole with the Changebook International Podcast. I am your host today. And as always, on Monday, we bring you very special guests, which are our authors that always have an amazing story. And today is no different. We have Deana Brown Mitchell. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad you were here. And I would love to know why you picked the Changebook.
Well, Jim Lutz maybe is the reason.
Right. I mean, guilty.
He reached out to me, and I had just written my book, The Shower Genius, I think at that time, and was promoting it. And he reached out to me, and I've written in I think 4 or 5 anthology books, and then we publish our own for my nonprofit with other people's stories. So I totally understand the concept, and I see what it does for people, because when you collaborate on something, you have like 20 people promoting a book instead of one. And it's really a great way to get your name out there and to network and interact with people. And I told you I had my book. So this is book 19, which actually Nicole is in as well.
I'm in guilty. I love your picture on the cover. That's really pretty.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, really pretty. So, and what did you write about? I'm just curious.
Well, I wrote about change, but I had a lot of it. I've had a lot of change in my life. But I think the most significant was probably between 2018 and 2022.
Okay.
And in 2018, I owned a business at the time that was multi 7 figures, and was doing very well. And I had to have surgery, and being out, like laying in bed with my own thoughts, I was realizing that I was regretting a lot of things. I was regretting the fact that I worked 24/7 for 30 years and telling my friends and family no all the time, and not really taking time for myself ever. And so that prompted a lot of change, which I thought might be detrimental to my business if I took a step back, but it actually, our business doubled.
Wow.
And then, in 2020, I lost everything. I did high-end corporate travel and events, and I lost everything. Went through bankruptcy, started a nonprofit for suicide prevention.
Oh God, that's scary, because I'm sitting here thinking that must have been what's going through your mind.
Well, what had happened was I lost a friend and colleague to suicide in 2018 as well. And I had survived an attempt and kept it silent for 23 years. So his death really prompted a lot in me about, I need to speak up. I just felt God calling me to speak up about suicide. And I was scared to death to do that, because I was a business owner, and, I just didn't know how my clients, my employees, and everybody was going to react to it. But I did. And there were a lot of people that were very supportive, and there were some people who just don't ever say anything.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of change in those years. And then after I lost everything, I just was trying to figure out what I was going to do with myself. And I had multiple businesses in my life. And so I started another business, a book. And
you're obviously very creative, because you keep redoing yourself.
So I think it's, that when Jim reached out to me and said the book was called The Change, I was like, oh, I have a lot to say.
I'm in. Yeah, that's absolutely true. And, as it's interesting, because I think at times when we get so overwhelmed, or we can't see it because we're so immersed in our work or something else, the universe, God, whoever you want to say, stops us in our tracks to make us look at it. And, I'm wondering, do you feel like maybe that surgery stopped you so you could look at things from another vantage point?
Absolutely. And it was, I had a hysterectomy, and I had had endometriosis for 30 years, but nobody could figure out what it was. And so I had been, not feeling well for a long time, and nobody could tell me what was wrong for so many years. And so when I finally had that surgery, I was like a new person. And I was like, it just really was a turning point for several things in my life in a good way. So,
Good.
yeah.
Good. Because I'm looking, like, when I was reading your bio, it talks about you working 18-hour days.
Mhm.
So where did you fit you into all of that?
I'm not sure. I spent most of my career doing events and working in
Mhm.
hospitality. And I think that industry lends itself well to people working a lot.
Yes, I've been in the industry, absolutely.
And I'm passionate about spreading the word of my Shower Genius book to that industry, because we have to learn that, even though our bosses and the people in the industry think that it's normal, it shouldn't be. And how can we at least learn how to put ourselves first in some way every day? How do we I like my favorite chapter in my Shower Genius book is, become MIA. And that means missing intentionally alone. And it could
Ooh.
be like you're going to go to lunch with a book, or it could be I'm going to rent an Airbnb for 3 days and disappear. Like, what is it for you? And we have visualizations about that 3-day Airbnb and how you make it, where you're relaxing and de-stressing, and then you're doing something that you really want to do or you're passionate about, and then taking the last part of it, being creative about what you're trying to accomplish in life, whether it's personal or professional, and using that creative time brainstorming, because once we give our brains a break, we're more creative and more productive.
Yeah, that's very true. And it's interesting, people talk about you can't pour from an empty cup. So you, of all people, must know about that. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's true. I think the oxygen mask analogy is very good, because we can't help other people if we don't help ourselves first. And
Yes.
I was working at a hotel in Vail, for 5 years, and part of that time I was the director of conference services. And we used to have a group with American Airlines that came every year, and they raised money for cystic fibrosis. So they came every year, and they had like 50 volunteers, and it was a huge thing that we had at our hotel for like 20 years. Well, when they would come, I would stay at the hotel, because that they needed me around the clock. And so, even though I could stay in the hotel and just go upstairs to sleep, I still didn't really get much sleep that week, because it was just so much going on. And that's just one example of, you have clients, and you have these responsibilities that don't sleep.
Yeah,
That,
and that's what I was just going to ask you. Do you feel responsible for everyone else, to where, you have to be there to oversee every single thing, because then it falls back on you if it's not right?
yeah, I think that's a big part of it. And I think the fact that, my parents owned their own businesses when I was young, and I just grew up with this responsibility. I was the oldest. I mean, I have one brother, but I was the oldest. And I think it was just this. My mom owned a nursery school that she started when I was a year old, because she didn't want to leave me with someone else. And I grew up with, like, being the eldest child in this business. Like, I don't know. I just feel like from a very young age, I felt responsible, and I felt like, I needed everybody's approval. I don't know why. I wrote a chapter about that once too in one of our Scars to Stars books, but it's like I always was looking for external, validation. And I've been really working on that in my 50s.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask you. What has changed to where you can look at yourself now and just appreciate the woman you've become, everything you've gotten through, did that bring you to self-love?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't think I ever, well, I can't say I never didn't love myself, but um, I think I'm in a much better place.
Good.
Mhm.
Good. I love to hear that because it sounds like you really put in some time. So I'm glad you're back to. I even saw here, and I know you wouldn't have put it if it wasn't true, but you waited 16 years to take a honeymoon. How do you, what was that process like?
Well, my husband and I met working in a hotel, and
Okay, that
he,
makes sense.
he's worked in hotels for 40 years. He's very, very good at his job. He's been all over the world. And part of it was both of us traveled a lot, and part of it was just, we didn't want to spend money on something, or we didn't have the time, and we just kept putting it off. And then in 2019, we got married in 2004, and in 2019 we finally went on our honeymoon. We went to Jamaica and stayed at
Ooh,
Sandals, and it was amazing. Sandals
I
is,
hope it was worth the wait. I'm sure it was.
yeah, I mean, we had taken trips other than that, but it was never just for us. Work was somewhere involved, because we both traveled so much, and we've been blessed to get to see a lot of the world. And I've moved 52 times since high school.
How is that possible? My goodness, what
Mm.
does that feel like? Do you feel like you're packing up and leaving home, or is it more like everything's going to be temporary?
There's a lot of years that everything was short term because of the hotel world,
Mm-hmm.
or because, like, in college I went and worked in Alaska for 2 summers. So that was like, you go there for 3 or 4 months and then you come home. And in college I lived in a lot of different places. So it was, we just moved and bought a house about 6 months ago, and I think we're done. I think we're
Okay.
done.
Okay. I've moved a couple times to different states, and what I've realized is that once you kind of step over that fear of leaving the place you're so, tied up in, if you can do it with an open mind, I've met some amazing people. I've seen different aspects of the, not the world, but, certainly different states. And you don't have a fear of it, I guess, of moving again.
No, I never had a fear of moving. I think that it's the reason I have so many friends everywhere, and I've had so many experiences that I feel like the people who grow up in one place their whole life is they're missing out, because even though I have a hard time keeping in touch with all of my friends because we're so all over the place. I've lived in 8 states, but most of the moving we've done has been in Colorado. So we've lived all over Colorado. But I grew up in Louisiana, and so
Okay.
it's, I don't know. I wouldn't change it, but
Yeah.
I'm happy to be settled somewhere now.
So Colorado is home now.
Hmm.
And are you still working in the hospitality business, or did you start a new business after 2020?
I started a new business after 2020, and it's kind of a combination of two businesses, because I had started the Shower Genius, and I have a digital course for that, and I do coaching with people, if they're either a busy professional or an owner, founder, entrepreneur kinds of people that are just burnout and, overwhelmed and stressed, and how do you get out of that space without sacrificing your business, because that's what I did. And I've helped people do that, and I love helping people do that because their life gets better and their business gets better. um, but the other thing is, I have a partner now that we have a mastermind called Wolfpack Mentors, and we do incorporate some of the Shower Genius theories in there. and we also so it's a year-long mastermind, um, and we have what we call accountability packs. So there's groups of 4 that meet every week. That is probably the one meeting that gets them the furthest.
Uh-huh.
My partner and I each host those meetings and guide them. And I've just seen, we've been doing it for 2 years, and people just get so much out of those meetings. And the next week they'll come back and say, I accomplished all these things. So it's really, really cool. And then we have regular mastermind meetings. We have retreats. Our next one is in October this year. And so I'm really excited about that because I had my first business at 14. I've had like really successful businesses and really not successful businesses in my life. I've learned a lot. And so I just like helping other people get to the next level and help them understand that they don't have to sacrifice themselves to have a successful business.
And you would know about sacrifice for sure. Definitely. Now, the shower genius. I love the name. Where did that originate from?
So I'll just show you what it looks like. But this is the Shower Genius book.
Okay.
And it is, so during COVID, I would take a shower. I didn't have anywhere to be. So I would have all these creative ideas with soap in my hair. And I'd get back to my desk and I couldn't remember them. So I put a whiteboard in my bathroom.
Oh, wow.
And that's where it started.
Okay. Because it's such a cute name.
Yeah, I know. It's like, it's intriguing, I think, but people don't
is.
understand what it is. But there's a very well mind did a study in 8 countries, and they found that 72% of people have the most creative ideas in the shower. And there's also some science behind that with hot water on your neck and the blood flow to your brain. So there's science behind it. And on my Shower Genius podcast, I ask people, where do they have their most creative ideas? And the shower is a big one, but also either driving or, somebody said something else the other day. I can't remember, but driving and the shower is what I get the most.
And I believe that. And I've heard that because water carries memory and you're relaxed. And so, and they also say, talk to your water. Talk to your water, tell it what you want, and it will bring it to you. So I've heard that aspect as well. But people, same here, is that, well, it just came to me in the shower. Mm-hmm. So you know what? I'm a bath person. I probably need to get in that shower and start listening pretty well.
That's funny. I haven't heard about talking to the water. I'm gonna have to try that.
Well, and there's actually a study done in it. Dr. Emoto is his name, and he used mean language with some water and happy language with some. And then he started taking, pictures of it and seeing what it was doing. And it definitely has some impact when you talk to your water. So I talk to mine all the time. I know people think I'm nuts, but I'm like telling, okay, here's what I want today.
That's awesome. I'll have to think about that.
Yeah. So when you were in your shower and you had your whiteboard, did you get out right at that moment and start writing, or could you? Because I'm like, once something's gone, it goes in and out so fast. Sometimes I can't remember.
I kind of put it on the wall right outside of my shower, and so
you could just lean out.
Yeah, I could just make a note, or whatever. But what I found since then, I've tried a lot of things that are on the market for shower note kind of stuff. And there's one called Aqua Notes that I use now. And it's like a little pad of paper with a pencil, but even if it's wet, it still writes. And then you can tear it off and take it with you.
What's so funny about that? Someone had to want to figure out how to do that, to create that. I'm surprised it wasn't you.
Oh, well, to be honest, when I started this and I started looking for things, there's quite a few products for making notes in the shower. And some of them, I tried some that were okay, but Aqua Notes I found is probably
The
the
best.
best one I've found.
Yeah. So, with everything going on, are you in the midst of creating something else? Because you seem like you get so many good ideas that one thing wouldn't be enough.
Well, I have several businesses actually. I have the Shower Genius is one, Wolfpack Mentors is one. I have my nonprofit called the Realize Foundation, and we publish books and have a podcast. That's all around suicide prevention and mental health. And then I'm also a travel agent.
Wow. But you still have time for yourself.
Yeah, I work from home now, so it's very different. I've never experienced that um, until the last few years, and I think it makes me more productive because I can focus on what I need to, or I can also get chores done in between calls sometimes, or makes it easier.
Yeah. Now tell me how your publishing company came about.
I have a publisher that we work with, so I don't we don't do the publishing per se, but she helps us with editing. So for our Scars to Stars books, I mean, I guess I just have to show you what it looks like, right? So they look
Oh yeah. Oh, I like that cover.
And so we have four of them out. Three of them have been bestsellers. Um, our fifth one will come out in May of 26.
Oh,
And so what we do is we have a 12-week time frame that we work with authors. And so I'm recruiting. There's a way people can apply on our website if they're interested in writing their story. It's just realizefoundation.org and go to the Scars to Stars page, and you can submit your interests, and then I know that you then I have your information and I can reach out to you. So what we do is we meet on Zoom once a week for 12 weeks, and we have, at first we start by what story should you tell, and my partner Christopher actually in Wolfpack helps people write and publish books, so he talks about how to pick the right story. And then we have a presentation from our publisher um, about the process. And then we have a date when the first draft is due. And then the editor works with each person on their chapter and edits, helps them edit it or gives them suggestions about, like, tell me more about this thing because it's not complete. I need to know
mhm.
more. Gives them that kind of feedback. And then we start talking about marketing and how they can use the book to help themselves, how they can get it out in the world. And then we have a 90-minute book launch virtual event where you meet all the authors and you get to hear about the book and their experiences. It's pretty impactful. And then we have a Facebook group where all the authors are, but also other people. And we post our podcast in there every Wednesday. And we interview all the authors. That's how it started. But we also have other people we interview. Like, I recently interviewed a guy who is a DEA agent, and
Ooh.
we talked about fentanyl. And
Oh,
I feel like everyone in the world needs to hear that interview.
I
It
bet.
is so important, especially for kids and parents. But yeah, that's one of the big ones. But we've had so many unique stories and so many wonderful people involved. It's been really fun.
Yeah. And do you write a chapter each time a book comes out for
No,
yourself?
I write the intro and conclusion, and it's the same in each book because it's about our mission.
Mhm.
And and the I've written two chapters. I wrote in book 2 and book 4. So
Okay.
my book 2 chapter was about my fertility journey because I had 3 miscarriages,
Mm.
and I didn't understand it all until I had my hysterectomy and found out I had endometriosis. Then it all kind of
Made
made
sense.
sense. And so I wrote the story about all of that. And then in book 4, I wrote a chapter called Addicted to Approval,
Oh,
because
wow.
I think that we all put too much emphasis on what other people think about us.
I couldn't agree more. And it's almost conditioned into us to worry about other people's opinions. So I totally agree with that. And I know we're getting close to the end, but I want to hear how Wolfpack came about.
Oh, sure. So Christopher and I met in some virtual events, probably in 21, 22. And we kept getting put in breakouts together, like randomly. And so we just decided to have a call. And we just had a lot in common. We had a lot of shared values, and a lot of drive to help other people, I think is how it started. And then we started actually with 4 partners, and then that didn't really go well. And so we ended up with the 2 of us, and we've been doing this for almost 3 years now.
Wow.
And I don't know, it's just he's in Canada, I'm in Colorado, but we've helped a lot of people, and we're going to keep doing it.
I think that's wonderful. And, I know we're at the end of our time, but you have such an amazing story. It's one of resilience and helping people. I mean, it's just, in looking at it, even though there have been things that happen, it seems like it's so well structured to get you to where you are today, which is an amazing lady. And I'm so grateful that you came on today.
Thank you so much. It's a
You
pleasure.
I do. I love talking to you. And before we leave, I want you to give our viewers just a nugget. And I'd say about, all the hours you work that you took away from self, give them a nugget about how important they are.
Oh, I think everybody, what I think is that if you don't stand up for yourself, no one's going to do it for you. And we are all very special, unique people, and we have to decide what is best for us. And that can come in a lot of forms, I understand, but we have to decide what we need. And I know that especially in the hospitality industry, we are people pleasers. We like to take care of everyone else, but you have to learn how to take care of yourself, because as you get older, the older you get, the more you realize that you have to take care of you, and we have to take care of our health. We have to take care of our mind. All those things really, really matter. And if we can't find time to do it, then you need to call me, and I'll give you some encouragement to do just that, because I learned the really hard way, and I don't want other people have to go through some of that to figure out how important they are.
I love your empathy for that. Well, thank you so much for being on today. I just want our audience to know that I have put links in her description to where you can get a hold of her. I think she would be an excellent person to get a hold of. I know in just a little bit of time I've talked to you, I've learned so much. And your story's amazing. You're amazing. And I'm just very grateful that you came on today.
Thank you so much, Nicole. I appreciate you.
Okay. And for everybody, take care of yourself, and I will see you next Monday.